The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Meeple Realty and Tasty Minstrel Games. Check out all their awesome products at meeplerealty.com and playtmg.com.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy in the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, it's the Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and occasionally role-playing games. Today, the Dukes are joined by Duke City locals Jeremy and Matt. We give you our top 6 board game apps. At some point, Sean ditches Jeremy and Matt to talk to Mike Gnade from Rock Manor Games about the Kickstarter for Maximum Apocalypse. Then we look back at the Dukes review of Nippon in our Dukes Double Take. And now, the Dukes of Dice. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And Matt.
And Jeremy.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to be here.
This is the first time the two of you have been on the show together.
Well, you know there's a reason for that.
Because
Yes.
you hate each other?
We are each other's nemesis.
Yes. We are board game nemesis.
Wouldn't it be singular? You're just you're each other's
Well, he's my nemesis.
Okay.
We're
and
each other's
I
nemesis.
guess it's multiple nemesis. You're right. I apologize for my mistake on pluralization and whatnot. Hey, this is episode 137, App-etite for Construction. App-etite for Construction. Jesse Metcalf came up with that title over on the Guild with an assist, though, from BJ from Board Game Gumbo. He said App-etite for Industrialization. But we figured let's go with this because it sounds like Guns N' Roses' appetite for construction. Destruction. Dang it. Destruction. Yep, that's what I meant. And yeah, we're talking about board game apps, obviously, and we're talking about building up industrial Japan. So construction makes perfect sense. And if you want to know what this is all about, you can head on over to our Board Game Geek Guild, guild number 2008, where every week we put up a Dukes on Deck where people can chime in on the games we're talking about that episode. And also there's this friendly contest to name each episode for bragging rights and just bragging rights. So go check that out and we'll give you the rest of the top 6 episode suggestions at the end. But let's do some little bits of show business. First, if you would be so kind as to head on over to iTunes to give us an iTunes review. That's how some more people can find out about the Dukes of Dice. It helps pop us up in iTunes feeds and whatnot, so we'd appreciate that. Also, we have some new content both in YouTube form and also in written form on the website, dukesofdice.com. Matt, can you tell us what's going on over on dukesofdice.com?
Sure. Well, our buddy Matthew Ward and I decided to start a board game review. It'll be published bi-monthly. It's called Wham!
Wham!
Wham! You gotta stand up like Emerald, you know?
Wham!
Wham! Stands for We Are Matt. So Matt and Matthew, me being Matt, every 2 weeks we're going to take a look at a game. These are quick reviews that pack a punch. There's no rules overviews or long explanations like that. We just go straight into our opinions on the games, just to give everybody a quick review of what's going on out there.
And this first one was Clank.
Yes.
Which you can also say, Clank!
Because there's an exclamation point. So, Clank is a game we both really like, so we wanted to get our thoughts down on paper on that. And we have an upcoming list that's pretty exciting, too. Taking a look at newer games and some older ones as well.
Will Matthew get grumpy if you share some of the upcoming titles?
I don't think so. I think next on the list is Hanamakoji.
Okay.
It's a nice little kind of 2-player game where you're trying to win influence from a row of geishas between you. So, yeah, we like that one a lot.
Beautiful
too,
game. Beautiful art by Major League.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm excited for that. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm excited to see more to come.
Yeah, we're really excited for it, too.
So go check out Wham!
Wham!
on dukesofdice.com.
Does that come with a Spice Weasel?
Nice little Futurama reference there. The other thing, over on YouTube, somebody had the bright idea to do a Monday through Friday daily vlog, and that somebody would be me. So yeah, it's about 10 minutes, and I show off some of the recent acquisitions. I talk about a news item or Kickstarter. Currently, though, we're also doing Board Game March Madness with a spillover into April Armageddon, because by the time this episode goes live, it's going to be April 3rd, I believe. And what we're doing is we're talking about some of the top anticipated games of 2017, and we're putting them through an NCAA-style bracket tournament. By the time this airs, we will have finished round 1. So we had a top 16, a bunch of different games, and we're going to be doing round 2. So every day, you can be going to check out the Dukes of Dice daily vlog, and you could vote on which game you want to advance to the next round. So there's different matchups every day, And what's nice is if you want to go do this, you can vote in the comments and you'll get entered into a drawing. The Dukes will be giving away to a random winner the game that wins. So that sounds pretty cool, whatever that game happens to be. I think I know which one it's going to be, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So definitely go check that out. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for show business. Let's talk about some games we've been playing recently. Sound like a plan?
Cool. I got a chance to play at Dukes of Dice night on Wednesday night, Dream Home by Clemens Kalicki and published by Rebel Games. This was a 2016 Golden Geek nominee for Best Family Game. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it. It's a card drafting game where you're choosing a pair of cards every round in order to build your dream house. One of the cards you're choosing is a room, and the other is an accessory, and it'll be like either a tool that'll help you do a special action, or it'll be a helper, like a handyman or an architect that'll give you extra bonus points conditionally at the end of the game. And then there's decor items that'll give you bonus points as well. And finally, roof tiles, because, I mean, what's a dream home without a roof on it, right?
But the roof needs to be at the bottom of the house, not on top of the house.
No.
Which is kind of weird.
Well, no, because you stack them at the bottom of the house.
Yeah.
At the end, they go on top.
Yeah.
So, because they're hidden at the end. You put them face down on your board. So you're kind of set collecting secretly as well, which is kind of interesting. It's a lighter game. It's a pretty quick game. It takes about half an hour. It's only 12 rounds. You only have 12 rooms in your house, but there's a decent amount of strategy in it. You know, there's certain rooms can be expanded, but they can only be expanded to a certain size. And if you're able to expand them, you'll get more and more points. The problem is being able to draft those rooms to be able to do that. The art is gorgeous on it. Just absolutely beautiful. And the cards, the room cards, there's a lot of unique illustrations among them, and there's a lot of little Easter eggs in them too. In fact, I didn't realize this till the end of the game, but the tiebreaker for the game is how many kids you have in your house. Hidden in these rooms are little children, and you won't see them just standing there. They're like, there's one where he's peeking up over a table at a birthday cake on the table, or you might see an arm sticking out or a leg.
Dismembered arms and legs.
No. No. This is a wholesome family game. But it's a beautiful game, nice components, lovely artwork, and a lot of fun for a family weight game. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I got to play it too the other night, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
For a family weight game, I mean, I love drafting. It's got it's got the tableau drafting. Rochester style draft, because it's not the hand passing draft style. The tension of, am I going to get the cards I want? Do I need to get this particular decor item? Because when you place a decor item, you can no longer expand that room. So I think like living rooms, you can possibly expand to three cards, but maybe you have to take it and place it in your living room when you only have 2 cards. And it just kind of depends. Yeah. And then some of the tools that you are able to draft kind of let you ignore some of the rules or one-time ability. So there's, I think, a decent amount of depth here for a family game. This is something that, as a gamer, I can play in a lighter crowd and still feel fairly entertained, fairly engaged, and challenged too.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy. Try to pick where you can put your rooms, because you can't put your house there's 2 floors. Okay, there's a row of 5, then a row of 5 on top of it, and then there's also a basement that's just a row of 2. And you can't put room cards in your house unless there's a room or a foundation of some sort underneath it. Also, you can't put the same room next to each other unless it's a room that can be expanded like that living room. So you can't turn your whole first floor into bathrooms. Right. As hilarious as that would be. And
useful sometimes.
Yeah, I could see that.
Especially after, a night of some sort of ethnic food that, anyway.
But yeah, it's there was a surprising amount of thought that goes into it for such a kind of a lighthearted game. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really solid family weight game. Yeah. All right, well, that is a Dream Home.
So I wanted to talk about Coldwater Crown, which is a Kickstarter game that just delivered from Bellwether Games. I got to try this one out at Gen Con with the designer. It was a really impressive action selection game. So this is a fishing game where you can fish the lake, the shore, a couple other locations, maybe just one more location. And you can take different actions by you place this puck you have, and it's got a 1 side and a 2 side. And if you place a 1 side or pick up a 1 side, you get a lesser action. But if you place or take a 2, it's going to be a better action. And what happens that's really cool about this game is every time you pick up a puck, you turn it over to the other side. So everything's a 1 initially, but then you start getting 2s occasionally. And it, like when you go to the shore or the bait shop, I guess, to refill your stock, you can take a 2 and then you get to put bait in multiple locations on your player board and use the bait to catch the fish, obviously. So that's really interesting. I'm a huge fan of fishing. It's my other hobby besides board games. So for me, it connects a lot. And I think this action selection is really unique and interesting. So I recommend people check it out.
Is it available at retail yet? Do you know?
I think it's available for pre-order right now.
Okay.
I saw it on Cool Stuff Inc. and our buddy Cameron enjoyed the game so much that he decided to pick it up right after we played. So
I know Draft Mechanic was a big fan of this game.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at. And
yeah, I'm definitely eager to give this a try.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed the Kickstarter just barely funded, and it really deserves much more attention than it got.
Well, I just wonder if fishing is a theme that most gamers would be enthusiastic about.
I mean, we're enthusiastic about trading in the Mediterranean. Why not fishing?
But we're kind of conditioned. We're kind of conditioned at this point.
I suppose so.
To be like, oh, I want to be a medieval farmer so bad. I don't know. All right, cool.
That was Coldwater Crown from Bellwether Games.
All right. Dresden Files, the cooperative card game. I love the Dresden Files. Now, when this was on Kickstarter, however many months, year ago, whatever, I was not reading the books. I was not a fan of the Dresden Files. I was familiar with it, aware of it, but I'm like, oh, I'm sure this will be a game that fans of the books will like. But since then, I'm on book 8 or 9 right now. I'm tearing through these things. I'm loving it. It's a fantastic series. So it's about this wizard, Harry Dresden. It is a modern, he's a detective agency. It's modern fantasy, urban fiction, I guess is all of the terms there. Great mythos that's created, all these different types of vampires and fairies and a whole bunch of stuff. Lots of politics in a fantasy setting. Very cool. So this game, I was really excited for it to finally come out after I'd started reading the books, and our buddy Nick had a copy. I went over to his place last Sunday, and we played 3 games of it, 2 players. Kind of weird 2 players. I think it's more intended for 3 or 4. 3 is probably the sweet spot. At 2 players, you're supposed to play 2 hands each. And what you're doing in this game is you are trying to complete a scenario by solving more case cards than you have bad guys left on the board. And the board is basically 2 rows of, is it 6 cards each? 2 rows of 6. And these cards are going to be these cases, these bad guys you have to fight, some obstacles you have to overcome, and then some benefit. I'm failing to remember what the name of the benefit was. And you have a deck of cards for each of the characters from the book. So you have Harry Dresden, you've got Susan Rodriguez, you've got the police detective, Karen Murphy, and a whole bunch of others. So lots of variability there in terms of who you're going to play with. Their decks are slightly different. They have a lot of similar things because they all have to have investigate cards. They all have to have combat cards. They all have to have cards to deal with obstacles, etc. And they deal with the distribution of those cards in their decks are different from individual to individual. But then they also have special abilities that are unique to them. The gameplay is such that you are playing a card from your hand that costs a certain amount of focus from a pool, a shared pool of, I think, 13. And so you spend however many, but then you can also take a turn to discard a card from your hand to gain that much focus back. So it's this focus management that is important. And what you're doing is you're playing cards to put investigation points onto a particular card. There's a range element, depending on where they are on the tableau. Eventually, you're putting enough clues on these cards to solve them, or you're putting enough damage on these cards to kill them. At the very end, once you kind of ran out of things to do, you can roll these dice to determine if there's kind of a Hail Mary to solve some final cases or to kill some final bad guys. But that's it. At the end of this, all you're checking is, did I solve more cases than we have bad guys left? And it's kind of anticlimactic. It's kind of, it left me feeling like, oh, well, it's just kind of a math problem at this point. The gameplay itself was okay. It was fine. I think I got more enjoyment out of it because there are all these little Easter eggs for fans of the book. So at this point, I wouldn't recommend this gameplay to anyone that's not a fan of the book. But even for fans of the book, I felt like I was left wanting something. From just a gameplay perspective, it didn't have a big showdown at the end. And that's what they call that end rolling of dice. They call it the showdown, but there's no drama to it whatsoever. So Nick and I had thought, well, what if we did a fan-made house rule where we actually create the big bad? Because each one of these represents a book in the series. So what if we create a big bad? Somehow how well you do affects your ability to fight the big bad. And I'm not usually a fan of doing things like that, but I want to play this game because of the IP. But I also want to have a more fulfilling endgame experience. if that makes any sense. Now, keep in mind, this was only 3 plays, but it was kind of unsatisfying at the end. Even though I enjoyed getting up to that point well enough, it kind of went out on a whimper, each one of those scenarios.
Have you played the Harry Potter deck building game?
I have not.
I hear it's pretty comparable, but Nick was saying he thinks he likes the Harry Potter game better because of that anticlimactic ending.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
I played Harry Potter and not Dresden Files, so.
Did you like Harry Potter?
Yeah, we are stuck in year 6 and can't quite defeat it. It ramps up the difficulty really hard. So
Does it?
It's definitely worth checking out.
And there were ways in the Dresden Files to change the difficulty. And actually, the last game, we started on the hardest difficulty. And it's basically you limit what you have available in the pool to start. In the easy mode, you have all 13 focus available. In the hard mode, you have like 4 focus available of the 13. So you have to spend some cards right off the bat to kind of get more focus. But I want to continue to explore this game, but we may want to put some work in to make it more enjoyable. So that's the Dresden Files cooperative card game.
Cool. Wednesday night, got a game that I hadn't played in probably 3 or 4 years out on the table again, and that is Lords of Vegas, designed by James Ernest and Mike Sillenker, published by Mayfair Games. In this game, each of us is a Las Vegas developer, and the game board is a map of Las Vegas with a bunch of empty lots on it, and the strip running right through the middle. On your turn, you're going to be drawing a card, which will give you a ownership of a vacant lot, and then if you have enough money, you'll be able to do an unlimited number of actions, and you can choose from 4. You can build a casino, which you'll pay the price that's listed on the lot, and then you'll choose one of 5 different themes of casino, and you'll put one of your die that matches the number on the lot on there. If that card gets flipped at the beginning of a turn that matches that casino, then you'll get paid money. You'll get $1 million for every pip that's on the number of every pip that's on the dice in those casinos. And if you're the boss of the casino, meaning you're the player that has the highest number die in that casino, you'll get victory points as well. There's other things you can do on your turn. You can remodel your casino by changing it to a different theme. You can sprawl out, and that's actually take over a lot that nobody has ownership of yet. But that's a little bit of a risk because someone may take ownership from that lot and take that from you. You can also gamble if you're really, really desperate for money. There's a lot of luck in this game, but the game does a pretty good job of being able to let you mitigate that. If you have enough money, you can reorganize your casino. You can re-roll the dice that you have placed in that casino and hopefully try and grab ownership of it. It's a really fun game. I really like how the point tracker works. It goes up by 1s at the beginning, and then there are these breaks the farther and farther you go. So you can't just rely on those little 1-point casinos. You need to build out and get bigger so you can be sure you advance up the track. I really like this game. I was glad to get it back on the table after such a long absence. I will say this, I think if you can, play it with poker chips.
Oh, yeah.
Because it comes with paper money, which is always kind of a slog, but there's so much payment in this game. I mean, every turn begins with people getting paid, and poker chips just speed that along. Plus, it's really thematic, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this one.
One of my absolute favorite games.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It was on my top 10 the first year we did it. It's probably a top 20 game for me, though.
It's becoming a modern classic.
Yeah.
7 years old now, and it's already, aging well, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrific game. And I didn't even mention the negotiation that goes on, too, as far as a mitigating fact. You can negotiate anything in this game, even your actions. The only thing you can't negotiate is your points. But you can trade money or trade lots, trade actions. It's a lot of fun, and it can be kind of funny too, and I kind of like that in a game. If someone swoops in and takes your casino, it's kind of a bummer, but it's still kind of hilarious at the same time. So yeah, I really liked it a lot.
All right, my next play that I wanted to talk about was Islebound from Red Raven Games. I got this play in with Nick, our buddy that I sometimes appear on the podcast with, online on Tabletopia. We were sitting around, messaging each other and looking for something to do, and decided to sit down on Tabletopia and give this one a go because we both knew the rules. And for those of you that haven't played Islebound, it's one of Ryan Lockett's games, being from Red Raven, and so it's got beautiful artwork as always, and this sort of mechanic where you have captains of the ship and you're demoting them when you take actions, and in that way it's kind of a action selection game, and you're this vessel porting around, and you can do these kind of pirate actions where you try to take over a port with combat, or you can use diplomacy to take over a port, where you then take an action when you get it, and the person with the most victory points at the end of the game wins. There's a lot of building of buildings, like a lot of Lockett's games, and those give you certain powers and kind of break the rules for you. So I enjoy Islebound. It's not my favorite. I think Above and Below is a bit better. But one of the cool things about Islebound is that the backside of all the captains of your ship or crew of your ship can be used as characters in Above and Below too. So
Yeah, that's very cool.
It's pretty fun.
I think Islebound's fantastic. I think I gave it a 5 out of 6 when we reviewed it, and I think it's probably my favorite. I do like it better than Above and Below. I found it to be a little more gamer-y than Above and Below.
There's no narrative aspect to it, though.
Right. Yeah,
So,
which I was fine with. And I'm hoping Near and Far is going to be kind of the bridge of that, where it has the narrative, but also has a little bit more depth in terms of mechanics.
yeah, I'm
like
super
Islebound.
excited for Near and Far.
Yeah,
So-
no, me too.
I recommend everybody check out Islebound, and I recommend playing it on Tabletopia. It's a good way to get into play, and if you want to hit me up, I'll be on there sometimes. So that was Islebound from Red Raven Games.
All right, well, the last game I'm going to talk about is Colony. This is from Bezier Games, designed by Ted Alspach. And this is an engine building game. It's this post-apocalyptic setting. And what you're trying to do is be the first player to get to 15 points. And you're going to get to 15 points by building these new buildings, which are going to give you new abilities. Some of them are just there for points. And you start the game by rolling some plain old D6s. So these are just these white D6s, 1 through 6, nothing fancy about them. But each pip represents a different type of resource. So I think on level 1 is like basic food goods, 6 is uranium, and it ranges. But other than that, there's no way to distinguish what each thing is. It's kind of weird. But what you're doing is you're starting off with a certain number of dice, and then each round you roll 3 dice, I think. And you draft one of those to keep. And then you pass it to the next person on your left. They pick one, and they pass the final dice to the next player. And those get to stay in your warehouse. So if I'm going third, by the time it gets to me, I have my original 3, I believe, plus then the one I drafted from the player before me and the one I drafted from the player before that. So I'm starting my game with 4 dice plus what I'm rolling. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to spend these dice to buy certain cards that are laid out. So I think there's 4 of each type of card, and there are maybe 5 or 6 cards that you'll always have from game to game. But then there's another 6 or so types of cards that are going to change up every game. So the game's a little bit different every time. And so some of these cards that represent buildings are going to be worth points. Some of them are going to let you maybe start the turn with extra temporary dice, or give you abilities that let you turn dice into other dice. So maybe I can take 2 of the same dice. I could take 2 5s and then turn it into any one of my choice. And what's also cool is I can also take actions to upgrade these. These are double-sided cards. And so if I upgrade it, it might make it worth more points, or it might enhance the ability of that particular building. And so you continue playing until one person hits 15. But that's the key, is as soon as someone hits 15, that's it. Game is over. It doesn't continue for another round. Everyone doesn't get an equal number of turns. It's first to 15 is the winner. And that was a little weird. I wound up winning, but I felt kind of bad for winning because not everyone got an equal number of turns. Some people were able to just hit 14, but knowing that I was already at 13 and I had plenty of ways to figure out a way to get to 15. I don't know, it was kind of unsatisfying in that way, but I enjoyed the gameplay and I enjoyed the engine building. It was very much a pure engine builder, which I love. So it wasn't so distasteful that I'm not going to play it again. It was just a little weird. And it was kind of unfortunate for everyone else who were like, oh, well, I can't do it this turn. I don't know. It just seemed like a weird design decision. I don't know.
I mean, this is actually something that I thought we might discuss on a future podcast, is this kind of race mechanic like Euphoria has, where you're placing stars, Scythe, right? Where, yeah, not everybody gets the same number of turns. You can end the game immediately. And some people find that distasteful. And I think that's interesting because there's a lot of cleverness in this kind of mechanic, I feel.
Yeah.
But some folks are definitely not into that.
Well, and what's interesting to me is I don't mind it in Scythe at all. To me, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think there's some aspect where you have to be paying attention to it and watching for that. And certainly that's the case here in Colony. But for whatever reason, I don't know. It just left a bad taste in my mouth, even though I'm the one that wound up winning.
Sure. I mean, if other people are not having a good time, winning doesn't matter so much, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is Colony from Bezier Games, kind of a reserved recommendation.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember this being really popular at Gen Con, but then it kind of radio silenced.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You ready to talk about this one, Matt?
I think I'm ready.
So Matt and I got into play of Power Grid.
What? That's crazy.
We're huge Power Grid fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we were playing with our buddies Cameron and Adam, right?
Yes.
And I think it was Adam's first play at Power Grid.
Yeah, it was. So we were playing on the Spain-Portugal map as well.
Ooh, never played on that one.
Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of cycle out some of the wind plants early, and then they come right up first as soon as you get into step 2.
Well, and we ignored Portugal, which has some, I think, nuclear
You
stuff.
can't have a nuclear plant if you only have generators in Portugal.
Right,
is the rule.
But
Yeah.
that was the territory we ignored.
Yeah,
so.
we just didn't play in Portugal at all. So
Sorry to our Portuguese listeners out there.
So as Jeremy mentioned earlier, he and I are board game nemesis, and I think sometimes we often play more concerned about beating each other rather than winning the game. And
I think every time we play, actually.
yeah, that's fair. And
Hey guys, let's play 3-player side. Go.
so that was kind of what happened here tonight. It got down towards the end. It looked like Jeremy and I were in position to take it home. And the magical 7 power plant came out. The 3-coal, 7-city power plant came out.
Oh boy.
And I was like, I need that to win, and Jeremy needs that to win. We bid and bid and bid and bid them up, and I paid a fortune for it, but I won it. And I was so excited for about 1.5 seconds.
And then I bought all the coal.
I had no coal.
Oh.
No coal. He bought it all up.
I couldn't buy any cities.
Yeah.
So our buddy Cameron, he comes in and buys all the cities and wins the game.
Yeah. He spent all his money on coal instead of cities, and I spent all my money on a plant and no coal. So it was just one of those, cutting off your own nose to spite your face kind of games. And I mean, all you can do at the end is just laugh at how ridiculous it is sometimes. But I felt so proud of myself for winning that auction. And I'm the one sitting right next to the resource market. I'm restocking the resource market in this game. And I did not figure out that Jeremy was going to buy resources ahead of me and buy all the coal.
You guys are terrible.
We are.
We're bad at
We're
board
bad
games.
at board games. Yes. Yes, that accusation has been lobbed at us before.
And the same thing happened in our Nippon play this week, and we'll probably get into that later.
Yeah.
Well, that was Power Grid from 2F Spiel, I guess.
Freedom and Friesa.
And Rio Grande.
Rio Grande
Local
games. That's
Rio
right.
Grande.
Yeah. We can't forget them.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our recent plays. For an abbreviated news segment this week, we're going to switch on over to an interview I did with Mike Gnade from Rock Manor Games to talk about Maximum Apocalypse, which actually is going to go live on Kickstarter the day after this episode airs. So listen to that, and we'll be back on the other side for our top 6 board game apps. Hi, Mike. How you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you and everyone out there listening about what I've got going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm excited to talk some more about Maximum Apocalypse. I've gotten some plays of it in. We'll be doing a video for the Kickstarter campaign. But before we do that, I want to get to know you a little bit better. I want to get to know Rock Manor Games a little bit better. And I think our listeners kind of like to know the gaming background of these designers and publishers. So how did you get started in gaming?
I mean, obviously, like most people, I'm sure, I grew up playing video games a lot. In 5th and 6th grade, I got into like Magic. I played a black-green deck of Magic in 6th grade until Ice Age came out, and then I couldn't mow enough lawns to buy enough cards to totally redo my deck, so I sort of gave up on it then and switched to like Warhammer miniatures for a little while.
Much cheaper,
but I mean, honestly, I definitely fell off of board gaming. So shortly after that, I moved across the country to Seattle and sort of lost my local friends that we would play Magic with and everything. So during that time, I got really into video games, and that just sort of stuck with me. for years and years and years. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe 2010 when I was at a PAX East and my legs were giving out from walking around and playing all the video games that I went to the back and sat down and started playing some tabletop games and just was like, spent the rest of the convention there because I was having such a blast doing it. So I certainly was around gaming and board gaming, like sort of the typical like Hasbro type stuff growing up. I recently cleaned out my parents' closet and I had like Omega Virus and sort of Hero Quest. And I had all those games, but, in the high school years and college, I stopped and I just kept going with video gaming and I never came back until, the past 5 years or so.
So back in 2010, what were some of those games that really got you back in? Any examples?
So a huge hit like in my household is Pandemic. The Cooperative. I mean,
Sure.
It's obviously a huge game. Everyone knows it. I don't really have to go into it. But
Yeah.
But that was a game that my wife actually like really liked. She's sort of an educational like science tutor type person, and she actually like likes that theme and likes the cooperative nature of it. She's a huge fan of Pandemic, so that helped a lot because it was something we could play together. Ascension was my first introduction to deck building, and obviously I sort of made a deck builder for my first game, so that influenced me some. And Netrunner. Netrunner is an amazing game that just instantly. I just love the asymmetry of it, and the theme is so cool. And obviously it sort of has that build your deck and play each other sort of like Magic does. So I would say those are the three like big ones that sort of brought me back into it. Since then, there's so much more. I definitely have increased the library substantially, over the years. King of Tokyo is one I use a lot for friends to sort of bring them in as well, because it's sort of shorter and they don't have to learn a lot.
So what made you want to make the transition from, someone who's just playing games to designing and publishing games?
As part of sort of my story, I've been involved in a lot of sort of entrepreneurial ventures based around games. I founded a site called the Indie Game Magazine, which covered like indie games for video games and computers, and ran that for years before I sold it and moved on to another site called Indie Game Stand, which is more about helping those indie game developers sell their games and then eventually I sold that. So I've been involved in sort of the indie gaming scene on the video game side of things for over 10 years. I've always sort of been involved in entrepreneurial things. As I started playing all these board games, I've sort of always wanted to make a video game, but I'm an okay programmer. I'm a terrible artist, and I know nothing about like music and sound.
Okay.
And those are three things you definitely need in video games. But I feel like I've got good design ideas. And in the board game space, when you publish and design your own games, I feel like you don't need music and sound because you're sitting around tables with friends and you're providing that yourselves. And you don't need to program anything. You just need to be a game designer, and then you need to be able to find an artist. And working on the websites and everything I've done in the past, I've worked with a lot of artists, and I'm a decent graphic designer, so I felt like I was much more situated to be a tabletop game designer than a video game designer. And just because I've done a lot of stuff on my own over the years, I started making a game on note cards, and then eventually it became a game that I was playing with a few trusted friends, and then we liked it. So then I started thinking about getting an artist, and it just sort of evolved. It wasn't something I set out to do, but I liked my idea, and as I played with it and worked around with friends, I just kept getting more and more passionate about it. So I went with it.
And so Maximum Apocalypse coming up on Kickstarter. This is not the first Kickstarter that you've done, correct?
No, it's my second game. So sometime along the process of that first game, I came up with what I would call the core idea for Maximum Apocalypse. But Maximum Apocalypse, what it started as and what it is now, I'm really proud of how much design work I went into it and how many iterations I went through. I deleted the rules and like the turn sequence, and started from scratch at least twice because I got to the point where I felt like it was just math. It was just a math game, and it wasn't fun, and there were just these variables that you were increasing and decreasing every turn, and the decisions and storytelling wasn't interesting. The one time I really started from scratch, I just felt like I was trying too many things. It got way too complicated, and I need to simplify back down to what the core game was about. And when I made that big decision, after I've been building on this system and making it more and more complicated for a while, that's when I feel like the game really became what it is and started making sense to sort of take to art production and take to Kickstarter eventually.
So let's describe the game for our listeners. So what's your elevator pitch for Maximum Apocalypse?
So my elevator pitch has always been that it is a roguelike adventure game for 1 to 6 players. Maximum Apocalypse is very much inspired by a lot of video games that I like, which are sort of like these roguelike games where every time you play the game, you're starting fresh, and the games are procedurally generated and randomly generated. So every time you play the first level of the game, it's different. And I'd never seen something like that done in board games. So that was that piece, that roguelike word is something I always kept in the back of my mind while I developed the game. And then obviously it's a cooperative game. So you're working together, trying to beat the game. You're not playing against your friends at all. It's 100% cooperative. And then it is an adventure. One of my favorite things about the game is that, watching people play test the game and learn to play the game and play the game together, is you see these natural stories between the people sitting at the table sort of evolve and take place in front of you.
A lot of times it's easy to kind of describe a game and what it's like, but sometimes that's not quite enough. But how does this gameplay? How is it similar to some other games that people might be able to kind of reference?
Sure. So, I mean, basically in Maximum Apocalypse, just to sort of give everyone an idea of sort of what the game, what a turn is like and what the gameplay is like, is to bring that procedural generation thing into it. Before you set up the game, you and your friends sit down, you sort of choose a mission to attempt. Everyone chooses a class of character to play as, like most adventure games. And then based on the mission you pick, there's some sort of setup that you have to do, and there's these map tiles. So if you've ever played like Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island, there's these tiles that you sort of shuffle together and place face down in sort of any configuration you want. The only rule is that they all have to be touching, so you can get to them all. You set all those up, you drive your van into the level, and you attempt to beat the mission. So every player chooses a different class of survivor. And all the missions sort of revolve around different apocalyptic scenarios. So there's zombie, Rise of the Undead zombies, like nuclear fallout, winter, and then of course alien invasion. And the game was built to be very modular, so we have a lot of other things up our sleeve as well, of course. But yeah, the basics is that you choose this class of hero, and you have this map in front of you, and you don't know what's out there. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and you've got to move around and navigate the map, trying to accomplish your objective while avoiding the big pitfalls and sort of the really bad tiles or traps that may be out there.
And I think what's really cool is that each of the class of characters has their own deck, so they fit that particular character.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you're like your deck of cards in your hand. It's an action economy like most cooperative games. So you have a set number of actions every turn, and the actions that you can do are sort of based on the cards that you hold in your hand. So, everyone can scavenge and find food, and as an action, you can eat that food so you don't starve to death. But then, people like the hunter have, bows and arrows and different sort of actions and weapons that they can use to move throughout the landscape. So each character does feel very different, which is important to me as well, because it's all about having a very varied gameplay experience every time that you play.
So if people wanted to go back this on Kickstarter, and by the way, this will go live on Kickstarter April 4th, which is the day after this episode drops, what can they be expecting as far as pledge levels?
So the Kickstarter is going to be, the game is going to be $40. So we're trying to be pretty aggressive with the pricing on Kickstarter.
It's a great price point.
We're doing flat shipping. So there will be shipping charged, but in the United States, it's going to be $5. And then in most everywhere else, it's going to be, between $10 and $15. So we feel we're being pretty aggressive on that, but we are charging flat shipping. Everyone does different things on Kickstarter now. There's charge shipping after the campaign ends, pay what it actually is. There's free shipping or included in the pledge level, which is what I did for Brass Empire. But I found it to be very confusing with my first Kickstarter when you start doing add-ons and people want to get different things or pledge for multiple copies, and your price point is including the shipping.
Sure.
I don't want to charge shipping. If you get 5 copies of Maximum Apocalypse, you're still only paying $5 of shipping. So I wanted to make it very clear, like, this is the cost for the game, and then you're paying this subsidized shipping rate. And that shipping rate's flat no matter how much stuff you get.
So speaking of how much stuff, are there plans for add-ons, stretch goals?
Yeah, so there'll be add-ons. Obviously, we have our first game. We have some stuff from our first game still in stock that you can add on. Maximum Apocalypse is actually, or not Maximum Apocalypse. Our first game, Brass Empire, actually sold out. So the only copies that we sort of have are in my garage that I take to conventions. I only have 15 left. So I'm hoping that there'll be enough interest, or I can bundle the manufacturing of Maximum Apocalypse with a second print run of Brass Empire. So there'll be opportunities to get our first game and stuff from our first game as well. But yeah, depending on how the Kickstarter goes, there are definitely add-ons and other things that could be thrown into the mix as well. And it's much clearer. I feel the price is, what, when you pick something as an add-on or whatever, the price of that add-on is $10. The price of that add-on is $15. So
that certainly makes sense. Now, a little bit of human interest here. This is happening around the same time as another momentous event for you.
It is. That's true. As of right now, my wife is about 9 months pregnant. Her due date, our first child came a few weeks early, so I was sort of anticipating the child already being here at this point. This weekend, my wife and I, all we've been doing is walking outside and just trying to get something to happen. But my wife's official due date for our second child is April 3rd. So, I'm definitely a little bit, I may need a sanity check, but my goal for the next month basically is to sort of have family life and help my wife with the second child and do this Kickstarter. I'm sort of taking care of 2 babies at once, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. And we were kind of talking off air how it will provide an interesting postmortem for you after the fact.
Yeah, at the very least, it'll provide a good postmortem blog later on.
It's going to be a cool story one way or another. I think.
One way or the other. Whether it's disastrous or successful, I don't think it. I think it'll be a good story regardless.
So obviously you have a lot on your plate with the Kickstarter coming up and a new baby on the way. Do you have anything in store for the future for Rock Manor Games? Yeah,
so part of the preparation for this Kickstarter, this baby and everything else sort of in my life, I've made a lot of personal decisions, and I hope to be announcing soon that Rock Manor Games will be publishing other people's games. I'm very involved in our local Philadelphia community, and I just sold an IT consulting business a few weeks ago. So I'm, I don't really have a job right now other than board game stuff. So I'm looking to sort of take this opportunity to pursue something that I truly love and see if I can make a run of it. So I hope to be announcing new games that I've played at some of our meetups at Game Makers Guild of Philadelphia and stuff. I hope to sign some of my friends, some of the games that have stuck with me over the past year that I've played. I hope to get some of those in sort of pre-production. We also are working on an expansion for Brass Empire, which I hope to bring to Kickstarter before the end of the year, hopefully in the summer, but we'll see how things go. We're about 60% through the art production of that one. So there is more stuff coming through the pipeline for sure. Hopefully we'll be announcing some more stuff soon. Sort of after I get through this Kickstarter and everything else.
Sure.
I'll be able to put more focus on some new games. But there are at least 2 games that I know of that I've played at our Game Makers Guild of Philadelphia group that I personally would love to produce and publish. They're both really fun, and I think they sort of fit the brand of what I'm trying to create at Rock Manor Games, which is, not overly complicated, 2 plus 3 hour games, but they're, games that take about an hour, that offer a little more depth than like the gateway games that are like super popular out there. It's like a step more than gateway without getting into like Dead of Winter or something.
Sure.
It's like super involved.
Well, that makes perfect sense. All right. Well, So if people want to go check out the Kickstarter, like I said, it's going to be up April 4th. I'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes the day after for people to download it later.
Yeah, the link in general, MaximumApocalypse.com is our domain. That will always take you to the most relevant Maximum Apocalypse thing. So during the Kickstarter, it'll take you to the Kickstarter page. And after the Kickstarter, it'll take you to like our website or wherever, where you can probably pre-order it or buy it, after the fact, hopefully, if we're successful.
And then people can go ahead and also check out the gameplay video that we'll be doing if they want some more information on it and how to play it.
Yeah,
and
it's
things
great.
Like that.
Yeah, be sure to send that my way too. I'll be happy to put it up on the Kickstarter page as well. I know people like to have all that stuff in one place. So
absolutely. If people want to reach out to you, are you active on social media at all?
Sure. So we've got my personal Twitter is mgnade. So you can find me there if you want to tweet anything at me personally. And then, Rock Manor Games is on Facebook, and, we try to post videos and trailers and sneak peeks and stuff there.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you for coming on, and best of luck to you with this Kickstarter campaign, Maximum Apocalypse.
Thank you guys so much. It's been a lot of work, and I'm definitely been at the point where I've looked at the page one too many times, and I just want to click that launch button. But I'm holding out until this Tuesday. So.
All right. Can't wait to see how it goes.
Thank you.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to tell you about Colosseum, Emperor's Edition. So I'll be honest, I did try and write an ad mimicking Mark Antony's speech in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, but boy, iambic pentameter is really hard. So instead, let me just tell you about Colosseum. Tasty Minstrel Games has been fulfilling this Kickstarter edition, and it's available for pre-order currently. In it, you're running a Roman Colosseum trying to put on the best show to please the crowd, senators, and Caesar himself. It's got auctions, trading, and some set collection. This new edition has updated art and components with amazing gameplay to boot. Seriously, this game is really good. Go check out Colosseum and check out Tasty Minstrel Games' other amazing titles at playtmg.com. So what do you do when you have no one to play a board game with, and you're too lazy to set up a solo game? Well, why not fire up a board game app and immerse yourself in the bright lights and sound? It's our top 6 board game apps. So normally we like to mention the guild comments at the end, but our buddy Nick Hayes had kind of a good idea here about what makes a good app implementation of a board game, what things are necessary to help your enjoyment of this port. So he has 4 things. Number 1, it needs a good tutorial. If I can't learn it relatively easily by your tutorial, then I'm moving on. Number 2, it needs to feel like playing a board game. I know there are limitations here, but when developers go the extra mile to make the game feel real, I take notice. Number 3, offer the correct types of multiplayer to fit the game. Most of us play games for the social experience. Honestly, I don't do a lot of multiplayer on apps, but some games require it, and I at least want the option. And then finally, number 4, it needs to make me want to own the physical game. I've been sold many games due to a positive experience with its app version. All of my top 6 I either own or I am planning to buy at some point. So what do you guys think about that? Before we jump into our top 6, what do you think about those ideas?
I definitely agree with the first statement that it needs a good tutorial. You download a board game app, and some of them, it's literally like a board game, except there's no rule book. And you're just befuddled on what to do. And that is a distasteful experience.
I agree with 3 and 4 on the list pretty strongly, too. Correct types of multiplayer. That I don't play a ton of multiplayer. I generally prefer pass and play, but if it's integrated well in the game, that's a big selling point for me too. Also, number 4, making me want to own the physical game. Just like Nick, there's been a bunch of apps that I bought and then run out and bought the game. I think those positive experiences with the app, it's really good for publishers if they can do that to get those apps out there. I mean, I think it does help move games.
Oh, absolutely. If I could spend $2 or $5 on a game to make me realize, oh, I want to own the actual physical game, then I think that's an easy investment for me.
Oh, yeah.
And rather than going out and just spending the 40, 50, 60, $100 right off the bat, yeah, definitely. I think that the converse is also a thing where you've played the game in real life and you want to have the app, but then sometimes the app can kill the physical game.
Yes.
And I think we'll see some examples of that.
I definitely have one of those on my list.
But I think that's a good jumping off point. So yeah, let's dive right in, gents. Let's talk about our top 6 board game apps.
Number 6.
So my number 6 is Agricola, classic game by Uwe Rosenberg. The app is a great implementation of that game. I like Agricola quite a bit. The only reason this doesn't appear higher in my list is because it doesn't include the Farmers of the Moor expansion, which I'd like to see as a paid add-on purchase. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, one of the greatest parts about this game, and I think it actually kind of goes against Nick's second statement that it needs to feel like a board game. This doesn't feel like Agricola in terms of the format, right? You don't see the cards. You don't see the display laid out in a tableau. It's much more graphical in that way. And the way the farm board is implemented, I like the way they do it in this game.
And I think that's interesting because I think it's a much more immersive experience when a game does that. But I also think it makes it harder for you to just jump right into the physical board game.
Right. So it kind of depends on the direction you're going. Have you played the board game and you're coming to the app? I think I prefer when it's more graphical, less board game-like, versus when you're coming from the app to the board game.
The Agricola app is the only way I will play Agricola.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I've probably played it 50 times on the app.
I like the solo experience where you try to go for a higher and higher score.
Oh, yeah.
And you get to keep some of your minor and major occupations, I think.
Yeah, I really like the immersion in that app, too. Just the little details and the edges. Like there's a little dude chopping wood there and little chickens running around. It's really nice experience. Nice soundtrack, too.
Yeah.
The pastoral type noises. So,
well, I think, did Clemens Franz do the artwork for the app, too?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, it's quite lovely.
So that was Agricola.
My number 6 is Lords of Waterdeep, the Wizards of the Coast board game, Dungeons and Dragons theme set in the city of Waterdeep, where each player is a one of the secret, mysterious lords of the town and trying to send their minions out into the city to recruit workers and complete quests. This is one of my favorite worker placement games. It's kind of on the lighter end, but I always have a good time with it. And I think the app is really well done, especially with the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion. It is more of the traditional board game type feel. I mean, the screen is actually the board of the game. That's kind of my one knock against it, is why it's down a little low, is because even on my iPad, it's kind of hard to see the whole board at the same time. And it can so there's lots of panning around and scrolling, trying to figure out where you're going to send your agents to. But yeah, it's a really solid implementation. I have a good time with it, and the AI can be pretty tough sometimes too.
Have you noticed that it just tears through your battery more than most?
I have not noticed that.
Oh man, at least for me, it's I can play maybe like a half a game before.
Oh wow.
I got an older iPad, so maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, no, it's I haven't noticed that, but it's I think it's a really solid implementation. I like that one a lot. I play it pretty regularly.
Yeah, it's a good app. I like it too. Yeah. It's my only way I've ever played that game.
Is it really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never played the real game.
Oh.
Huh. Are you inspired to play the real game?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm not going to run out and purchase it, but I'd like to play it.
Okay.
All right. That was Lords of Waterdeep.
All right. My number 6 is Sentinels of the Multiverse. And this is, like I said before, an example of a app that has killed the board game for me. I've actually gotten rid of the actual board game. I had the base game, a couple expansions, and I really enjoy it. But I'd much rather just play it in app form. And what's really cool with this, we talk about the immersion, this takes on a sort of comic book form, which is really neat. So you kind of have these pages that you're turning. And there's some randomness as far as the setup goes, which heroes you're going to have, which villain, which location you're going to be at. And it just takes all of the bookkeeping that's in the physical game and kind of does a lot of that for you. And I always found the main game or the physical game to be a little fiddly, a lot of tracking of information, and this eliminates all of that. And it creates a really immersive experience with sound effects and everything. And the art's fantastic. It's got that comic book style art. I think it's just a fantastic implementation. So much so, like I said, that it's just completely eliminated Sentinels for me as a physical play. So
yeah, the bookkeeping aspect of that game was a big turnoff for me when I played it. I have not played the app. I've only played the physical version.
Well, that's my number 6, Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Number 5.
All right, my number 5 is Star Realm. It is a white wizard game. This is a deck building game where usually it's a duel where you're trying to reduce your opponent's health down to 0. And you're going to do this by purchasing cards from the center row, playing them out to do damage and to buy more cards, lots of upgrades. I love this style of deck builder where it's this kind of head-to-head duel, and these can be kind of fiddly. So when you play these, I mean, you have to shuffle, you have to get all the decks, ready to go, and then you're constantly refilling cards, you're constantly shuffling your deck, and if you have two players in real life that are pretty quick at this, it's great. You can go through it quickly, and you can play a bunch of games in quick succession. I'm doing that with Hero Realms still, but I suspect if there were a Hero Realms app, it might kill the physical game for me. I don't know. But at least with Star Realms, it's already kind of done that. I'd much rather play this on the app than I would in person or in real life. It's got some asynchronous play, so you can play, players over great distances. There's also some interesting kind of campaign modes where different modes of play that you're not going to have in the actual physical game of it. There's add-ons where you can get the different expansions and things like that. And for the most part, like I said, I'd rather play this. We had a Star Realms tournament a couple months ago at Empire Board Game Library. I came in second, blasted Davis. And for some of the rounds, we were actually short enough decks of Star Realms, and I had my iPad with me. So I actually wound up playing some of it just on the iPad. We just kind of did pass and play, and we were done in like 5 minutes, and everyone else still had like 15, 20 minutes left to play. So I'd definitely rather play the app for Star Realms. All right, that's my number 5, Star Realms.
My number 5 is Small World by Days of Wonder, who I think makes really solid apps. The Ticket to Ride app's good too, but I like the Small World one. It's a really nice, kind of a lighter weight area control game. The graphics are lovely. It's very faithful to the board game, but they managed to make the map fit really well on there, so there's not a lot of panning around or doing that kind of thing. It's a really solid implementation. I love the variety of all the races and attributes they can have too, and it's just really solid. It's one of my favorite ones to play.
I feel like the setup for this game is also kind of a bear, and it's fiddly.
It is.
So I feel like, this is a great implementation.
Yeah, it is. It's almost killed the physical version for me. But yeah, that physical version can be a bit fiddly with those tiny little chits in the holder that doesn't really hold them that well, But it's a really solid one.
That's another one that I have the app, but I've not yet played the physical board game, and I'd like to.
And that was Small World.
So my number 5 is Patchwork, another Uwe Rosenberg. Kind of seen a trend on my top 6 here. This is a fantastic implementation of Patchwork. In this game, you got this big circle of tiles that you're picking up. You're basically playing Tetris, building a quilt. Competitively, it's a 2-player game. And the app has great AI, I think, and the pass and play version's really good. And it also includes online multiplayer. So you can play this any way you like, really. I think it's a fantastic implementation of the Patchwork engine. So it looks really pretty. That was my number 5, Patchwork.
Number 4.
My number 4 is a departure from Uwe here. It's a Matt Leacock game called Pandemic. You might have heard of that. And published the board game by Z-Man Games. And the digital implementation is F2Z Digital Media, which makes sense. And this is just a great implementation of the cooperative cube removing game with card action. I really like the app version. I think it was my first introduction to the game.
Okay.
Maybe I played the physical first. I can't remember. Both are fantastic. Pandemic's one of my favorite games, and this one feels a bit more like the board game.
Oh, yeah.
You see your card of hands, your card of hands, your hand of cards, and
it's very dramatic. I think like the soundtrack on it, like when an outbreak happens, like red alert sirens go,
and when there's 3 cubes in a city, they like flash and spin around. It's
like pulsing on the screen.
It's much more.
It's intense.
Yeah, adrenaline pumping than the board version.
I'll actually turn off the music just because it makes me too tense to play it that way.
Yeah.
I think it plays well as a pass and play. They don't have a online multiplayer as far as I remember.
Yeah, I've only ever played it solo. And another one of those games where I played it so much solo that I had a little desire to play it in real life.
And they've started implementing the expansions better. Initially, it was like, hey, here's some of the roles from in the lab or something like that. Now they actually, I think, have some of the other stuff, but I need to check that out myself. So that was Pandemic, number 5.
My number 4 is Steam, a Martin Wallace game that is a bit of a successor to the Age of Steam, which is pretty popular. And in this game, everybody is a railroad baron, starting out with $0, trying to build a railroad empire and deliver goods from one side of the map to the other. This was my first introduction to this type of game, and I fell in love with it almost instantly. It's a really good implementation of the game. It has a really good tutorial in it as well, so you can, you get up to speed really quickly in it. And Steam's become one of my favorite games, actually. Yeah, I really like this one a lot. I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out.
I have yet to play this in real life or the app form, but I'll probably check it out in app form at least.
Yeah, we should get it out sometime. It's not too much different than Age of Steam. It's a little more forgiving. But this one's really good. A really nice implementation, lovely graphics, runs really well. Other maps you can get as well for it. So yeah, that's my number 4, Steam.
All right, my number 4 is Pathfinder Adventures, which is the implementation of Pathfinder, the adventure card game. And I love Pathfinder, the adventure card game. This was something that Alex and I played a ton of, and then apparently he cast me aside to play with other people.
Cheater!
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Rude.
So this is something that I had played solo in the past, but it is so much work to set up the different scenarios. There's a ton of shuffling, a ton of counting out cards. It is just a bear. So the app eliminates a ton of that, obviously. This would probably be my number 1 if it didn't crash as often as it did. It doesn't crash that often, but enough where it's noticeable and kind of annoying. But I think it's a great implementation otherwise of the adventure card game. And I'm able to just fire it up, play it. It has everything I love about the adventure card game, the progression of the characters, improving of your deck, over the different scenarios, over the full campaign play, but without all that setup and breakdown, that's just so much work for one person to do. So yeah, I would totally play this if it's just going to be me, and I've got a hankering for Pathfinder, the adventure card game.
I too love Pathfinder adventure card game. It's probably one of my top 10 games. But this one didn't make my list because just like you mentioned, the bugs.
Yeah.
I had some serious problems with it where it would lock up and just I'd have to completely start over on some stuff. And that was a big turnoff for me. But when it's running and working, it's really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bugs kept it off the list for me.
And that's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah, I tried it and it kept crashing during the tutorial and I couldn't get through it. So I've never played either version, really.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because it sounds like I may have had more luck than you guys in terms of the crashing.
Maybe. It's been a while since I've tried it. I don't know if how the updates are going with it or not, but I hope they fixed it. I'd like to be able to play it on the go.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the game.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
All right, well, that's my number 4, Pathfinder Adventures.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Twilight Struggle. I love this game so much. 2-player from GMT, where one of you is the Soviet Union, the other is the United States, and you're trying to win this tug of war to get to 20 points or to just not blow each other up in a nuclear holocaust. And this is a difficult game for me to get to the table. 2-player games typically are. This is a bit of a heavier game. I feel like I've taught this more than I had opportunities to actually play people who've already known the game. And so being able to just play this against the computer, I've enjoyed. I know there's some asynchronous play, but I tend to not do that in app form. I tend to do that more on like Board Game Arena for whatever reason. But I can still kind of get that itch scratched because I love this game so much. And I also try to experiment with this, which I can't really do in real life when it's just a 2-player game like that. And I have found, at least when I started playing it, that the AI was not great. It made some really questionable choices. I mean, I was able to pull off several times an early war Berlin or Europe victory, which was kind of weird. It's like, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. But I think the AI has gotten better. So I think it's fantastic because, again, I have such a hard time getting this to the table. I've probably played this a good dozen times, and it's just such a fantastic game, and I'm glad that I now have more opportunity to actually play it. So
that was interesting what you touched on about being able to try out different strategies easily in a game. I think that's kind of an advantage of apps that we hadn't mentioned before.
Big time.
You want to go for one strategy, you can just go completely full throttle that way and not have to worry about ruining someone else's game or having to tear down and set up the game again, stuff like that. I think that's a nice feature about board game apps. Twilight Struggle, I'm really bad at it, I think. And I don't think the app is terribly forgiving because I think it'll let you blow up the world without any warning.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention, you will do that. But yeah, I like the game, and it's a terrific app implementation.
Yeah, that's my number 3, Twilight Struggle.
Okay, my number 3 is Stone Age, a worker placement game, kind of a classic. I like this one a lot. The app is great because the game is not that easy to get, at least not for a reasonable price. It kind of goes in and out of print every now and then. But this is a really nice implementation. Like we talked about before, it's really kind of immersive too, because the board doesn't look like the board.
Right.
You know, you pull it up and you have your settlement there, and there's a little riverbank with all the boats lined up, and the buildings are actual buildings there instead of just like tiles you click on. It's a really, really nice app. It's lovely graphics and really easy to pick up. It's a classic in worker placement games. I really like this one.
Yeah, this is a great app. I really enjoy playing Stone Age on my iPad. Again, another one I've never played in real life. I think part of that is the reason you talked about. I've thought about picking this up, and every time I do, it's not in print.
Yeah. I just checked online, and it's not. I mean, you can get it, but you'll pay a pretty penny for it. And I actually got it on the table for the first time at Empire on New Year's Eve, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever actually played a physical copy. It has a little like a leather dice cup too. It's kind of nice. But yeah, the app is terrific. Big fan. And that's my number 3, Stone Age.
All right, my number 3 is Carcassonne, the classic
Exciting.
building of the French castle city Carcassonne from Hans im Glück. This one was done by Coding Monkeys, I think was the producer of this board game app, and they did a fantastic job. This is one of the best board game implementations in app form. The AI is great. It's got good expansions, I feel like. And the pass and play is how we play Carcassonne on the airplane when we're going someplace. I love Carcassonne. I'm a big Carc head.
Is that the term? Okay.
That's the term. Yeah. There's a whole website, CarcassonneCentral.com, where a bunch of people like me talk about their obsession with Carcassonne. If you like Carcassonne, I think you should check out this app. And if you kind of like Carcassonne and you just feel like playing it occasionally, you should check out this app. It's that good.
Yeah, it's really nice. And like you said, the AI is really
Yeah, and we talked about music on some of the other games. This has a great soundtrack. It's really pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
Classical guitar music. So,
Are you planning on making the pilgrimage to Carcassonne?
No, I've been to the castle city. It's really cool. And maybe that's what draws me so much to the game. And that was my number 3, Carcassonne.
Number 2.
My number 2 is another classic, Ticket to Ride from Days of Wonder, Alan Moon design. The app of this game is another one of these just out of the park productions, right? And I feel like this one feels a little more like playing the board game.
Yeah.
You're placing your trains, building your routes, doing your hand management stuff, and it plays quick. I think Sean's going to say it killed the physical form for him.
Absolutely. Because I could play it in 5 minutes.
That's true. It's so fast to play against the AI.
Yeah.
I still like to play it with real people occasionally, people that know how to play Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
It's kind of painful to sit through a rules explanation and an AP for that game, but I love Ticket to Ride, and I'm really excited to see how many expansions are available in the app form, because some of them are hard to get now in the physical form. That was my number 2, Ticket to Ride.
My number 2 is Galaxy Trucker by Vlada Huatel. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly now.
There is a whole thread in our guild about how to correctly pronounce his name.
I think I did okay. I hope I did. Yeah, so Galaxy Trucker, what a terrific app this is, because it really takes the board game and turns it into something else. You have this whole campaign where you're flying around the galaxy and missions to complete. And Galaxy Trucker being one of my favorite games, it's terrific to see that kind of love and detail poured into that, into really transforming it into kind of a completely different beast. This does not replace the tabletop experience for me. I still like to play tabletop or Galaxy Trucker on the tabletop because I think it's pretty hilarious. But this one is such a good app. Just outstanding.
But they're also very different gameplay, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you have the table, everyone's reaching in there at once and grabbing those tiles at the same time, kind of a rush to get those pieces you really need. The app, the campaign is a little more laid back experience. The AI is pulling some tiles, but not very quickly, and you can usually get a good ship, but the challenges are pretty tough as well. And that was my number 2, Galaxy Trucker.
All right, my number 2 is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is from Bezier Games, And here's yet another one that has killed the physical game for me. There is a certain amount of fiddliness to the setup and in between rounds in the physical game. There's a ton of AP when it comes to pricing the various room tiles, figuring out, where they're going to go. Is this one going to be 15,000? It could be 8,000. I don't know. What piece do you want? Oh, man. So this is something that I have just played so many times, so quickly, that to me, the big draw of this game is just having your castle sprawl out and seeing what you've built at the end. You can take little snapshots of it in the app that you can post on Twitter. And so this is my preferred way to play this game. I enjoy the comboing. I enjoy trying to fill the different objectives without all of the extra time, all of the extra AP. And it's just my preferred way to play the game now. Well, I'm excited for the new version, Palaces of Mad Palaces, and I'm sure I'll enjoy playing that a couple times until the app comes out. And which seems to be a theme with some Bezier apps, which we may or may not discuss in a little bit. So that's my number 2, Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Number 1.
All right, my number 1 is Le Havre, another Uwe Rosenberg game. This is my absolute favorite Uwe Rosenberg game, hands down. This has not killed the physical game for me because I love to play the physical game, but it's hard to get to the table. It's probably a heavier weight Uwe game because there's not just the resource management, but the resource conversion, which requires a lot of advanced planning. Oh man, I need to get the steel, but before I get the steel, I'm going to need the lead, and before I get the lead, I'm going to need some sort of fuel to actually fire it up. So I've enjoyed playing this in the physical form quite a bit. There's a chance this will probably make my top 10 this year. I've gained a big appreciation for this game over the last year. Part of that is from the app play, because I've played this a ton in the app. I don't know if I talked about too much on the podcast. My dad was in the hospital for like 2 months this year, and I probably played Le Havre in the hospital a good 50 times. And I love it. It's such a fantastic game. It's so difficult to kind of plan things out, think ahead, constantly feeding your people. Uwe, you're a masochist. But this lets me try out different strategies in a quick way. This lets me get a feel for the different buildings, because there's a ton of different buildings in this game and a ton of different strategies. I mean, it's definitely multiple paths to victory. The ability to play this in an app form in a 20-minute game instead of a 2.5, 3-hour game, depending on the number of players, I think is fantastic. So this is one where this is more my love of the game is kind of coming through. A lot of the other ones were just kind of, they do things differently or they've killed the game for me. But this is just, it's such a solid game. And if I've got the 20 minutes, this is going to be my go-to app game. Whereas Star Realms, if I've got 5 minutes, I'm going to play Star Realms.
Does it feel like the board game for you, though?
A little bit. I mean, because so the implementation of it is more like Agricola in terms of the app, because it's not quite the board. But I know the board well enough. Like I know the physical game well enough that I can't feel the distinction in my mind. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to play the physical version yet, but I've played the app quite a few times.
Do you play any physical board games?
I do. Just if there's an app, I won't play it. Maybe that says something about apps.
Maybe it does. All right, so that's my number 1, Le Havre.
My number 1 is Suburbia from Bezier Games, as Sean foreshadowed earlier. This one is my number 1. Because it killed the physical copy for me. Absolutely. I really, really like this game. I think it's very clever, that push and pull between, growing your city, but not growing it too fast. There's just a lot of bookkeeping to check. When you lay that hex tile, you have to see how it affects, how that affects, and then how the tiles around it affect, and then other tiles you have, and then other tiles your neighbor may have. This one, you just drag the tile into place, and it shows you what the result's going to be.
Yep.
And you can move it around on the board and see if it's better someplace else or not. It's a great way to really learn the game, I think, too. It's also got a really robust campaign mode.
Yeah.
It's just really challenging. I really like it a lot. It looks very much like the physical copy. There's not a lot of flash or decoration around it. But it's really solid and just really fun to play. My number 1, absolutely.
Yeah, I had pretty much the exact same experience. Absolutely killed the physical game for me.
Yeah,
And-
I sold mine at the Gamer Garage sale, actually, a few weeks ago, because that's just, hadn't gotten to the table in over a year.
Yeah.
Because the app is that good.
So Bezier Games, I think the lesson here is make worse apps.
Yes.
So I have never played Suburbia, and I downloaded the app and I tried to learn Suburbia from the app, and I can't figure it out. So I don't think this one has a great tutorial,
Yeah.
at least for me. If you aren't familiar with the game, I'd be hesitant about diving into that one.
Okay.
And that was my number one, Suburbia.
All right, to finish this off here, I'm going to repeat one of Matt's top board game apps, and that is Galaxy Trucker. I love the app implementation of this game. I also really enjoy the board game, but as Matt alluded to, the campaign mode of this game is just so intriguing in the way it ties all these missions together. And every time you're building a new junk ship, it's just really a lot of fun. And the pass and play is okay. I wish it was as real time as the board game is. So this one for me is really a solo game, all right, in app form. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying this multiplayer, but I think the campaign is that good that it plays out to be my number one right now. So now that we've finished our top six, we wanted to go back over a couple honorable mentions. First and foremost came up was Forbidden Island. I think this one got knocked off by Pandemic for me because, they're very similar games, but the app implementation of this one's really good. Next is Potion Explosion. Have you guys checked this one out yet?
I have not.
I haven't either.
Oh, it's really slick. I'm very happy with the app. And then Brass. Brass is a great game by Martin Wallace.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's the app is a really more polished version than the latest version of Brass that's available.
Though we got Brass Lancaster coming out here soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm a big fan of that Roxley art.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm definitely backing that.
And then I think the app version of Tokaido is gorgeous.
Yeah, it adds a lot. It's not just a port of
Right.
the board game. It adds a lot of aesthetics. And
It plays just like the board game. So if you're a fan of Tokaido, I'd definitely look into that. Puerto Rico, just because it's a classic. I don't know that the app is that great, but the game is good.
yeah, it was a very much a functional app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not super pretty.
And then we got to mention Hearthstone.
Yeah, not exactly a board game app, although it's based off the World of Warcraft TCG.
Well, it replaced the TCG.
We'll replace the TCG.
I think it's better than the TCG personally.
Yeah, because it does things that you can't do in real life with a card game.
Right.
So, for example, a card that gets played just turns into like any random card that exists. You can't really do that. I mean, you could, in theory, randomize what it's going to be, and then it's a token. Yeah, no, it does something really interesting. The World of Warcraft TCG was a really good system. I played a bit of it when it first came out. But yeah, Hearthstone is just a stellar hit. I mean, it's fantastic.
All right, those were our honorable mentions.
All right, well, we've got a bunch of guild comments. Just want to hit briefly. And if you want to go over to the guild number 2008 over on Board Game Geek, you can see a ton of other suggestions that people listed off there. But I just kind of want to highlight some thoughts that people had. Megan Naxer said, I have tried to enjoy board game apps, and they just aren't my thing. But here are my top 6 game apps that scratch a board game like itch without being ports of existing games. I'm just going to read them off because I'm interested to try some of these just based off her recommendation. Reigns, which is a game about balancing resources and managing a kingdom. Matt, you're giving me a thumbs up on that?
It's really good.
Okay.
It's really, really good. And it plays really fast too.
Hearthstone, which I've played a ton of. I love Hearthstone. It definitely scratches that CCG itch. Card Thief or Card Crawl. It's a puzzle game with a little bit of push your luck with some upgrade cards. That sounds interesting. Letterpress, which she calls a Scrabble killer. There's Mini Metro. It's a pick up and deliver efficiency goodness game packaged in a clean subway map aesthetic. Matt's also...
Yeah, I love that game. I
Okay,
play
I'm
it
a-
all the time on my phone.
Okay, I'm going to check these out. And then The Room, it's a 3-game series, beautiful puzzle game with an interesting story and very clever puzzle. All right, well, thanks, Megan. I'm interested in trying those out because games are games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So-
Oh, yeah. Steve O'Rourke says, the Colt Express app does a great job capturing action programming. I haven't played the story format yet, but I've heard good things. Visuals are very good, but what's so good about the tabletop version is the 3D train. Even with the app playing so well, the screen ends up feeling like the coolest thing about the game is missing. I have not played the Colt Express app at all, but I can understand that sentiment.
You know what I should do? I should totally download it, play it, because if I played enough, I'm bound to eventually win. I've probably played the real game about 12 to 15 times. I have never won. I've never come close to winning. I've never come in second. So bad at this game.
So Michael Fahrenbrook says, number 2 for him, Baseball Highlights 2045. First mention?
You got it. First
Yeah.
mention. And it's interesting, it didn't come up on any of our lists, although all three of us are big fans of the physical game.
Love the physical game.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
app leaves something to be desired. Could be better. It doesn't do that
Sure.
great game the service that it deserves.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Royce Calverley says, I'm not a big app gamer, but I've tried a few. Star Realms and Elder Sign have both replaced the physical version for me, streamlining the fiddly extra bits that always annoy me when I play those games in person. I'm in agreement there. And then finally, a shout out to the Sentinels Randomizer app. While not a game itself, it allows you to select a difficulty level for Sentinels of the multiverse and then suggests a combination of heroes, villain, and environment for that difficulty level. Genius.
There's several randomizer apps. So one I use a lot is it's called a Symbol for Marvel Legendary.
Okay.
Yeah, and that helps a lot when trying to sit in a big box of cards trying to decide what you're going to do.
Yeah.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo says, bonus mention to the Terra Mystica app that is coming out soon that I am
Oh,
super
man.
excited for. I am super excited for it too, BJ. Yeah, I've seen the screens and it's
It looks good, yeah.
It looks really, really good.
So excited.
He goes on, I really like the promise of adding content to board games through an app. Renegade has an interesting add-on app for Clank. Not quite fully there in my humble opinion, but I see where it is going. I'm excited to see the app get there.
Now, when you guys did your WAM review, was there any consideration of the Clank app?
We touched on it briefly. The Clank app is pretty good. I hadn't tried the solo mode, but I've seen the added campaign stuff, and it just adds a few more challenges to it. Just mixes things up a little bit more.
Right. And so I think it's interesting, like we said, this is a companion app, so it's not a standalone app, right? You
Right.
need to actually be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah,
play
it's-
the physical.
It is not a game you can play.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it adds a little bit there. I think I would agree it's probably not quite there yet, but I think it does a pretty nice job.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our top 6 board game apps. So we're going to talk about our Duke's Double Take here in a second, but first, a quick word about our sponsor. So even though 2017 is still kind of new, it looks like we have a front runner for one of the hot games of the year, and that is Gloomhaven. This dungeon crawl packs a ton of content into this gigantic box. It weighs 300-400 pounds, maybe not that much, but quite a bit. And while I don't have a copy, we've got some locals here that do. And let me tell you, it is a bear. There is a ton of setup and breakdown to this game. There are a ton of components. Storage for this game is nearly impossible. However, our friends over at Meeple Realty have come to the rescue and have a storage solution for you. A fully compatible insert for Gloomhaven. This insert is sure to increase the setup and breakdown of the game, and if you own a copy of Gloomhaven, you need to own this insert. I know that Meeple Realty is working hard on a lot of awesome new inserts, including inserts for the Arkham Horror living card game and Anachrony. In fact, they already have inserts for so many of your favorite games. So be sure to check them out over at meeplerealty.com to check out their full range of high-quality board game inserts engineered to enhance your play experience. That's Meeple Realty. Think inside the box. All right, this week for our Duke's Double Take, we're taking a look back at episode 85, Mad Emperor Meiji. This is where we did a Duke's Double Take, I believe, of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and then obviously Nippon was our featured review. So this is from What's Your Game, designed by Nuno Santiro and Paulo Soledad. I gave Nippon a 5 out of 6, and if you don't know anything about our rating system, we rate everything from 1 to 6. A 5 is a great game, will rarely turn down a play of it. In fact, I said that this was just shy of a 6, an all-time favorite that's a contender for the top 10. Alex was a little bit surprised that I gave it a 5. I actually asked him just recently, yesterday, why? Why were you surprised? He's like, I don't remember. But I don't know if he thought I was going to give it a 4 or something, or I don't know. It was weird. Alex gave it a 5. He said, well, it's on a razor's edge between a 4 and a 5, but ultimately, because he was so good at the game, it took it over to a 5, which is, that's so Alex, right?
Yeah.
His big complaint about the game was that it gave you the false impression of multiple paths to victory, when in reality, you need to do the area control. The area control is what you need to be focusing on in order to win that.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that.
This is an area control
Absolutely,
game.
100%. Yeah.
It's got a bit of point salad. There's like salad.
I think as long as whoever's teaching the game lets everyone know this is an area control game, make sure you focus on this. Everything else is a means towards that area control. Then I think you're fine.
Well, maybe it's on Alex then, because he taught me the game. And I was so into building my engine, and all this stuff was happening, and I felt pretty good about my point spread, and then the area control scoring, and I just got blown out of the water.
This is a game that I had played, with the exception of this week, I had played, I think, twice since the review. This is a game that I am always thinking to pull off the shelf. In fact, I think I probably mentioned it a couple times, and I've been met with grumbles from various people, maybe you guys yourselves included. But I did get to play of it on Wednesday night with Nick and Cameron, and I'm also playing it currently online with some of our listeners over on Board Game Arena with BJ and with John. I love this game. I think it's fantastic. I was begging you guys to play with me last night online, and there was not a lot of success with that. I still think this game is fantastic. So I'll just give you guys can kind of do your thing and talk about what you guys think, but it's going to stay a very high 5. I think there's a possibility that this becomes a 6 at some point. I love this game. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really tense. Basically, there's this action selection where you're pulling meeples from a board, from different action selection spots, and you're trying to have only 1 or 2 colors of meeples, because the more colors you have, the more you're going to have to pay for them when you have to take a consolidate action. And you're building up an engine, you're building up your coal production, you're building up your income, you're building up your knowledge, which is going to let you build better factories. These factories produce goods that you use to fulfill different areas of Japan, which help you with that area control element. And there's just so much going on with this game. I love it. So it stays a 5 for me. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of in a weird place on this game. I think my first play of it was with your first play of it over a year ago.
Oh, with Rory.
With Rory.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of the night on a Wednesday night, Dukes of Dice game night. And I remember we came out of that game really excited.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you even told me you dreamed about it that night.
I did. That's right.
I dreamed about it too. I was really excited about it. And then I think a few days later, the Cardboard Lunch group met up on Friday and played it. And I asked them, what'd you think? And they were like, just not big fans of it.
Huh.
Jeremy and I got in a play of it yesterday at Empire. And
with Eugene.
And it fell a little flat for me, to be honest. I think, I knew going in it was an area control game, but I just think there's a little too much going on. Like you said yourself, there's a lot going on. I think for what it is, there's a lot going on. And I think as far as area control games go, there are other ones I would rather play than this one. I'm really not sure where I'm going to come down on this on a rating. I come bouncing back and forth, but I think it's probably going to come down to a 3 for me. I think it's a good game. I'm not very excited to play it though, but I do want to play it again because I think there's a lot, there's some good stuff in there. And maybe I just need a couple more plays to kind of really get a better feel for it.
So a 3 is game is okay, not exciting, will play in the right situation.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of where I'm at on this game.
So for me, I want to like this game. Sean, you talk about feeling clever. This game makes you feel clever all the time. Oh. And I think that's one of the reasons you love it. Oh. I think too often, I feel like the designers are clever when I play this game. And I do think the design is quite clever. This action selection, pulling their meeples, and then doing the consolidation. Very interesting, right? And that affects your income. And so you're making decisions on which color workers to pull. And there are all these pieces where you're making goods and you're upping your coal production, you're upping your income and your, is it wisdom or knowledge to build the factories. And I want to like all those pieces, but for some reason, and I can't put my finger on it, it just falls flat for me. And I kind of feel like giving this game a 2.
Whoa!
It has merit, and I see the merit. And the reason I'm not going to, I don't think it has significant issues in the design.
Okay.
I can't put my finger on any issues. It's just boring for me. Huh. And I don't know why. And so I'm going to ultimately come down to a 3 like Matt, but for me personally, it may be a 2, just because that's how little I'm inspired to play this game.
Okay.
Sorry to say no, Sean.
Bummer. Well, we've got a couple thoughts over in the guild. Mike S. says, I've played Nippon 4 times in person and twice on Board Game Arena. It's a solid 5 for me. I actually liked it much more than Madeira, despite generally enjoying heavier games. There are many paths to victory, although you can't ignore the area control aspect entirely. I greatly enjoyed the ability to choose or predict what I will score at the end of the game, as well as the puzzle of optimizing worker colors. Let me just say real quick, I'll just jump in here. The fact that as you're consolidating, you're getting these multiplier tokens and you choose what end game score you're going to turn on is really cool. All right, back to Mike. On the one hand, it's a game that I feel like I get. On the other hand, I have had my posterior handed to me by better players when playing online. So clearly there is more to learn. The designers have thematic explanations for most of what happens in the game, including the somewhat non-intuitive consolidation process. I do find the area control aspect is a bit slack with 2 players, despite the restricted number of influence tiles around any given city. But even at 2, it's a solid game. Yeah, I think I'd rather play it at 3 or 4. I'm fine at either count. 2 I was okay with, but 3 or 4 where it's at for me.
Chris K says, Cintiero and Soledad have game designs that I admire, but don't always love, and I think Nippon is a perfect example of this. The action selection consolidation mechanic is the most interesting part of the game, in my opinion. The timing of taking these actions creates some difficult decisions, and even a bit of tension as you wonder if you need to take a worker now, so it doesn't cost you more yen, or if you can hold off and take an action that is more pressing. On the negative side, I would argue the rest of the game is more about optimization than player interaction, which is odd considering the area control aspect is the meat of the scoring. Nippon is an interesting puzzle, but in the end I feel it falls at a ducal 4 for me.
And a 4 is a good game, worth playing just not all the time, belongs to the duchy.
I will give this game one more try.
Okay.
Yeah, I would play it again.
Okay.
I'm not writing it off.
Well, that's going to do it then for our Dukes double take. A 5, almost 6 from Sean, a 3 from Matt, and a 3, almost 2 from Jeremy. All right, well, let's wrap this episode up, guys. Before we do, though, we've got some episode title runners up. So John Giblin suggested Nippon Deep in Apps, kind of like hip deep in apps, but Nippon Deep in Apps. Good job, John.
Jimmy DM90 says Industrial Resolution.
Resolution.
As with board game apps, looking
Yeah.
at a screen.
Yeah.
So,
And N. Jones came in with Domo
Domo.
Arigato, Mr.
Roboto.
Roboto. We always have to sing when we're on, Sean.
Thank you. Excuse me, I mean, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah. Jason Lees has Aptins of Industry.
And Steve O'Rourke comes in with E-Meiji, pun about emoji.
Yeah, with the electronic thing. Yeah, it makes sense. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, everybody. Thanks, everyone who contributed to the episode titles and all of the thoughts over on the guild. Once again, we have a very active guild over on Board Game Geek, guild number 2008. We love when new people drop in, introduce themselves, and become part of the show. Consider doing that. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we end this thing, guys?
When do you want to play Power Grid again?
What are you doing right now?
Let's do it. Let's go set it up.
Love Power. You gonna play, Sean?
Yeah,
Sure. I love Power Grid.
Let's do it.
Although I like the Power Grid, the card game, too, a lot.
Boo.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, guys, for coming on, helping me out. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that will do it, of course, then for episode 137, App-etite for Construction. Thanks again to Jesse Metcalf with the assist from BJ. Until next time, this is Sean.
And Matt.
And Jeremy.
And Hail Hydra. Thank you so much for listening to The Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Duchy on April 1st, 2017. Our theme music is provided by Carbo Hydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com. And for all the latest in the Duchy, go to DukesofDice.com. Find us on Twitter @Dukes of Dice, join in conversations in our Board Game Geek Guild, find us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Tasty Minstrel Games and Meeple Realty. Check out their awesome titles at PlayTMG.com. And for high-quality board game inserts, check out MeepleRealty.com. Think inside the box. We'll see you back here next week. Until then, as Alex would say, game on.